Hey guys, your tech admin here, and today we're moving on to the next laptop in the series. Today we're going to be installing Windows 98 on my Toshiba Satellite 4030 CDT. Now I have a completely legitimate copy of Windows 98 here, second edition. So we're going to jump right into it and put this in the drive. I believe the Windows 98 second edition CD can will allow you to actually boot from the CD. I don't believe the first release of Windows 98 would allow you to do that. I think you actually needed a MS-DOS boot disk, but I'm not totally sure on that, so we're going to go ahead and slap this in the drive and see what it does. If it doesn't work, I do have a MS-DOS boot disk, so let's go ahead and power it on. I'm going to hold down the escape key so we go to the BIOS. Man, that is loud. We'll put this in the CD drive here, just like that. I'm going to check and make sure that, yes, I don't know if you can see it or not, but here we see that the boot order is floppy disk, CD-ROM, hard drive, so that should be okay because there's nothing in the floppy disk drive. So I'm going to hit N to save changes and exit. And we'll see if it boots from the CD-ROM. And it has. So here we go. We'll say boot from CD-ROM. And start Windows 98 setup from CD-ROM. There we go. If I had decided to install the original release of Windows 98, I would have had to dig out my boot disk, which actually I wouldn't have had to dig it out. It's right here. But I would have had to pop that in the floppy drive first. And then I would have had to basically boot from that, format the disk, I think, and then start the installer from there. But this way is a little easier, so we'll go ahead and enter to continue. So we will remove files and reconfigure the hard disk. Alright, so we will hit yes to reconfigure the hard disk. We will enable large disk support. So we are going to need a Windows 98 boot disk. Okay, so it can't handle preparing the hard drive. I'm just going to move the camera a bit here so I can slap the boot disk into the drive. Alright, get that back. So setup will restart your computer now. Make sure the Windows 98 boot disk is in drive A. Go ahead and enter to allow that. If I had already formatted the hard disk, the installer would have just ran, but since the hard disk isn't formatted, or it's actually formatted in NTFS because Windows 2000 is installed, so that's why we're having to do this. But it seems to want to start from the CD-ROM again. That's strange. I think floppy disk was the first device. Let me eject the disk and restart to see if it'll start from the floppy drive. I hope the floppy drive hasn't filled. That would be rather upsetting. I think it's working. It sounds like it is. Yeah, okay. Start computer with CD-ROM support, yes. Maybe it did load properly. I think this was the menu I got last time. I just wasn't paying attention. It looks very similar to the menu that I got when I booted off the CD, so that's what confused me. Okay, so now we can actually start the process of formatting the drive. So I'm going to type fdisk. Yes, we will enable large disk support. Delete that partition. Do you want to delete? Yes. Enter volume label. Let's see, I'll just leave it unlabeled. Are you sure? Yes. Primary DOS partition deleted. So let's continue. So now we will create primary DOS partition, and it's going to run through this little check, verifying the drive integrity. You must restart your computer or your system for changes to take effect. Any drives you have created or changed must be formatted after you restart. So escape. So we have to restart, so I'll go ahead and do a Control Delete. Okay. So I'm just going to type format see. Yes. Okay, so that was pretty easy. I'm just gonna let this run now, and I'll come back when it's done. Well, that took absolutely ages, but now we are finally ready to start the installer, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. But first I'm going to reboot because there's something I want to change in the BIOS settings. Okay, so after formatting the drive and everything, we're finally back at the installation screen. So go ahead and hit enter to continue. And perform a routine check. We'll hit enter. So it's just running scan disk to check the hard drive and the file system and all that stuff. Alright, finally we're copying files needed for Windows setup. Alright. So we will hit continue here. Alright, so here we can select the options for the installation. I'm actually going to hit custom. And I'm going to look through the list and enable everything that I want. Alright, so it's asking us to restart, so I'll go ahead and restart now. We'll see what it does from here. I assume we want to boot from the hard drive now, not the CD-ROM. Ooh, look at that. Windows 98. Alright, I'm going to register this to myself. And we'll put home user as the company. Next. Accept the incredibly out of date license agreement. And here's the part where I'm gonna go find and put in my absolutely completely legitimate product key. So hang on just a second. Alright, so there's my product key entered. You can feel free to copy that if you want to read it, because I don't think Microsoft is going to block any product keys at this point. And finish. And now it's got to start setting up the hardware. This is going to be the fun part. Hey, it wants to set up the date and time now. And we'll hit apply. Okay. Alright, it looks like we are finally booted up in Windows. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Oh, and now it's trying to find even more hardware. Alright, plug and play monitor. And here we are in Windows 98. So the next thing to do is to get the drivers installed. Now I've downloaded the drivers, I just got to put them on a CD. So let's go ahead and get that going.